You know what I love most about Miraculous? The action. More specifically, the abilities that everyone has. We've seen so many cool, unique fighting styles, I can't help but be entertained. Hey look, that character can turn people into balloons! Where do they come up with this stuff? Seriously though, I wish there was some sort of fighting game with the sole purpose of fighting each other through the use of character-specific attacks. Oh wait. Marvel Rivals is a 6v6 shooter that features iconic Marvel characters, each with their own unique powers and abilities. It is also the newest team-based shooter game that adds 2 different characters every season. The Miraculous cast will fit perfectly here. There's no real chance Marvel will ever be adding Ladybug and friends to their game, so it looks like I'll have to do it for them. Consider this my pitch for how Miraculous characters will work perfectly in Marvel Rivals. There are plenty of characters in Miraculous to choose from. On top of the handful from the main cast, every episode presents a new villain with a brand new set of skills. Since we can't add every hero, we'll have to be selective with who we add to our roster. I'm thinking their powers will have to be unique, since we don't want any stale gameplay or repetition. Also, they're gonna have to be popular characters since nobody wants to play as Princess Fragrance, if you even remember who that is. I also want to include some team-ups that the game has, but characters who are just standalones won't work with that. In Rivals, there are 3 classes that each fighter can be, either tank, duelist, or strategist. They are completely separate from each other with very different balancing orders. Tanks are the team's shield and spearhead. They have high health pools and defensive tools like barriers, crowd control, or mobility skills that let them lead and take pressure off their allies. Duelists, or DPS, are the main damage dealers. They're usually fast, aggressive, and built to deal damage. Each duelist has their own unique combat style, either for close quarter melee or ranged attacks, because their job is to take out the most targets. Strategists, aka the healers, keep the team alive and enhance their effectiveness. They provide healing, shields, buffs, debuffs, and other stuff that tip the battle more favorably. They usually don't do much damage since their primary role is to support the tank and DPS, but with all that established, let's get going. First, we have to figure out who's going to be on our roster. Obviously, we have to include Ladybug in this. She's literally the face of the show at this point. She also has the most versatility when it comes to abilities, since the writers love making her overpowered. I would include plot armor as an ability, but I don't know if that qualifies as a skill set. Let's look at what she's got before determining her moves. She's very versatile, always leaping across buildings and dodging projectiles. She uses her magic yo-yo both for attacking and defense, as well as swinging around for mobility. Her greatest power is her Lucky Charm, which grants her an object to assist with any situation she's in. Lastly, when she throws her Lucky Charm in the air, she summons a swarm of magic ladybugs that repair any damage in the fight. There's plenty to work with here, so I won't even mention all the power-ups she has. Just her base skills will be enough. Now, we have to determine which class to put her in. Is she a tank, DPS, or healer? Obviously, she can't be tank. She is way too skinny to be blocking any bullets. You might have guessed I'd put her as a DPS, but I actually think she'd make a better healer. Plus, with her movements, the last thing we need is another Spider-Man clone. Let me explain her moves. For healing, she'd be able to spray a small dose of her ladybugs to heal nearby teammates, either like Moira from Overwatch, or how Scarlet Witch deals damage but for healing instead. In new episodes of Miraculous, Ladybug is able to use her Lucky Charm constantly, so it's not as big a deal as it used to be, which is fine because I think it would make a perfect support tool. Along with healing, Ladybug can summon her Lucky Charm on her teammates that would give them a temporary buff. There are also a lot of different ways we could see her Lucky Charm being presented. I'm thinking either with objects that the characters can wear, like a scarf or hat with Ladybug's print, or maybe a little Ladybug plushie that sits on their shoulder. Just something to indicate that they are being buffed. I honestly think she'd be great at healing, but she might have some trouble defending herself, so let's give her some defense. Her attacks could just be her short-range yo-yo punches that we see in her game. She isn't meant to do much damage since she isn't DPS, so this is really just for her self-defense. Her other protection can be her classic yo-yo shield that she creates by swinging her yo-yo around really fast. She can use this to protect herself and others nearby, but only for a short amount of time before it goes on cooldown. Lastly, she can use her yo-yo for movement, grappling onto nearby terrain like how Penny Parker does, making for quick getaways. Lastly, let's talk about her biggest move, her ultimate. An ultimate is a hero's most powerful move. It's built up during the gameplay, and it can dramatically shift a fight when fully charged, with either heavy damage, healing, or area control. Since she's a healer, it would be more centered around saving the team and not damaging the enemy. Since Ladybug's Lucky Charm is being used as a mini buff here, her ultimate can be the second half instead. In the show, Ladybug is able to clean up everything after each battle with magic ladybugs, but here, her ladybugs will heal anyone on her team who is damaged, and buff anyone who is at max health. It would take some tweaking to get the exact numbers of heals and buffs just right, but I think the mechanic is perfect. I was originally planning to have her ultimate Ladybugs revive everyone exactly where they died, to keep it a little different from Adam Warlock's ult, which is just reviving everyone in one spot, but that might still be overpowered to have 2 revive healers. So I think this way, her Ladybugs can still do that classic flying around effect that we've seen in the show, and still help keep the team alive without being too overpowered. Before you say anything, I know, not all these mechanics are perfectly seen in the show. Like, I know she can't actually summon Ladybugs to help aid her in battle, but we're gonna have to reach a little bit if we want these characters to fit appropriately. This is a shooting game after all, and I don't seem to recall any instances of Ladybug carrying around a loaded firearm, so we're gonna have to improvise a little. Now that we've wrapped up with Ladybug, let's look at our next contender. How could we include Ladybug and not bring along the supposedly second main character? Cat Noir is the second hero in Miraculous. He's Ladybug's partner and is meant to be equal to her, but that gets overlooked most of the time. Honestly, Cat Noir has a lot of mechanics for being a fighter. All of his equipment is meant for offense. His whole shtick is destruction. So that tracks. There's no way Cat Noir could be a healer. And since he's also pretty lean compared to everyone else, we're gonna go ahead and make him our first DPS. A DPS kit is perfect for Cat, since he'll need to be quick and agile along with doing serious damage. His weapon of choice is his magic staff. Cat Noir is going to be a close range fighter with a series of mobilities used to attack the backlines. His main attack will be a triple spear punch that inflicts a reduced healing effect after the 3rd hit. This is going to make his punches stronger the more combos you do. That way there's some reaction time before he does serious damage. This mark system also matches his personality. Instead of poison, we can call it something like corrosion. He gives off a corrosion effect. The only downside to this is that he's similar to Black Panther, a black cat who does combo damage at close range. With some balancing changes, I'm still confident that they could work out. So what if Cat Noir and Black Panther look similar? Here, look at these 3 characters and tell me that they look different. Exactly, Cat Noir looks different enough. So sit down, cause we have to talk about his mobility. Cat Noir's main weapon also tends to be his main mode of transportation. His pull can, in theory, extend infinitely. Remember, it's magic. I don't want to give him too many ways to escape, so a simple pole vault will do. Whichever way he is running is the direction he will launch himself toward. Running forward, he launches forward. Backwards, he launches backwards. And then standing still, he'll just extend upward. Maybe just to grab a quick heals before falling back into the battle. His second mobility will pair perfectly with this. In the show, we've seen him spin his pole around fast enough to turn into a miniature helicopter, and then glide down safely. We already have some gliding DPS like Moon Knight with his cape, so Cat Noir's gliding, as silly as it is, will fit perfectly. Now he can leap to and from battle and gain some distance by gliding through the air before landing. I was also thinking about allowing him to run on walls for a short amount of time, kind of like how Rocket does, but shorter. But I think it might add too much versatility to him. It could still be an option though. Surprisingly, his ult was actually a bit tricky to come up with. You'd think it'd be simple enough to think of something since the show basically gives it to us straight up. Obviously, his ult needs to be his iconic Cataclysm, but how it works needs some more thought. Rivals already has so many instant kill ults that just adding another to the pile seems like a waste of potential. It also just feels lazy. My first idea was to make it so the closest person within a tight proximity will immediately lose all their health when Cat ults. This way it's like a guaranteed kill, but only one opponent gets eliminated. I still like this idea, but then the thought of just getting grabbed by Emma Frost right after or before and canceling it makes his ult a death wish if you don't plan on using it right. Plus there's the issue with timing and everything. I just feel like there's a better idea out there. I noticed in one of the new episodes, Cat Noir's Cataclysm got an upgrade. Now it can work similar to Ladybug's. He can summon a sort of destructive beam that flies around. I thought this would be perfect. He could use this in-game and anybody nearby gets insta-cooked by the Miraculous Cataclysm. But there's already Scarlet Witch who does that exact same thing. We don't want more duplicates here. So this is the best idea I came up with. Cat Noir's ult is going to be area control based. When he ults, he cataclysms the ground, creating a large area of corrosion which leaves tick damage for any enemy who stands inside it. And I don't know, maybe he does some initial damage as well to whoever is nearby. I want to avoid his ult being an annoying insta-kill like Bucky or Scarlet Witch, but it seems like it could be just as useful in capturing the point. Maybe you could also nab some eliminations while you're there too. I am really confident about the setup we got for our boy here. Being able to play as Cat Noir with these sets of abilities would totally be cool and feel close to how Cat Noir actually does fight in battle. We got 2 heroes on our list. I think it's time we add in a villain. Marvel Rivals is full of twisted and sick characters. They got fighters like Venom, Hela, Loki, and more, so we definitely need to add one of our own. Thankfully, I know the perfect guy for the job. Hawkmoth has been the big villain for Miraculous and would fit right in here. He doesn't really come with weapons, so making him a damage dealer wouldn't be very smart. At first glance, he would seem like the perfect candidate for our first tank role, but the way he operates in the show, I actually think making him a support healer works best. Yeah, he's definitely more on the larger side compared to the rest of our characters since he's an actual adult, but think about it. The purpose of the butterfly Miraculous is to grant powers to other people. This is what we see him do in every episode. As a healer, he'd be able to do just that. This is what I'm thinking for his healing abilities. He should have two choices with how to use his Akumas. He can either send one to an opponent, which causes him to take more damage or reduce healing, or he can give one of his teammates an Akuma, which will slowly heal them as long as the butterfly is on them. Think like Zenyatta from Overwatch, but with butterflies instead of floaty balls. There are multiple ways you can show the effects of the Kumanization too. Either have the purple butterfly circling over their head to let everyone know who is being affected, or just give them the purple mask in front of the face for the entire duration. Both will work, but I personally like the mask idea better. Hawkmoth won't be a super strong healer like Invisible Woman or Luna Snow. His purpose is more to make the enemy team die quicker. So we'll have to give him some means of attack. We rarely see Hawkmoth in action during the show, and when we do, he's usually powered up in some other way. Most of the time, he just stands there and lets his Akumas do the fighting. So coming up with combat for this guy might be tricky. I've only ever seen him fight with his cane, so that's gonna have to do for his weapon. I'm not exactly sure how his cane works, since we've seen him use it like a javelin, a baseball bat, and be able to summon it like Thor's hammer. It's fine, we'll work with what we have. Hawkmoth won't need a wide range of skills like Ladybug, since he'll be able to do a lot of damage instead. It's like a trade-off. I like the idea of him just throwing his cane like a spear, so that's what we're gonna go with. Hawkmoth can throw his spear, but it'll be a little harder to aim since he'll have to account for distance, unlike fighters with direct bullet hits. However, this will mean he'll be able to hit enemies from across the map if he can time it right. Because his staff is stronger, it'll take a second to resummon it before he can hurl it again. One other idea I had for Hawkmoth is actually something we see the new Hawkmoth do. Chrysalis has found a way to shoot an anti-Kuma by blowing through her victim's light mask, causing any heroes who get hit to lose their magical abilities. Hawkmoth can have a similar effect, but it would just be him using it at close range to either stun or dismantle an enemy's attack momentarily. I think this is all perfect for Hawkmoth. There are a lot of games where you might not need much healing and want to focus more on damage, but totally switching off heals could cost you the match. This way, you get a little of both worlds. You can help damage the enemy while still boosting your team. There aren't many fighters like this right now. The closest would be Mantis, but her kit is so complex, she's easily mistaken for a DPS. Hawkmoth's ultimate is another tricky one since his main ability in the show is being used for his passive healing here in game. I think we should stick to the pattern we've got going. Instead of Hawkmoth's ult being focused on healing the team, let's make it even harder for the enemies to survive instead. His ultimate ability will be called Darkwing's Rise. When this happens, he will release a swarm of Akumas that cause the entire enemy team to have anti-heals, meaning no one is able to get healed for a period of time. This works great for possibly flipping the tables if used properly, and is also a unique mechanic to add to the game. Hawkmoth is such a good character for rivals. His skill sets are like no one else's in the game. I honestly think he'd blend right into the roster if they gave him a chance. Someone call up NetEase and tell them we have their next character. So far we've added 2 healers and a DPS. We need to find someone to fill in as a tank. The Miraculous with the most tank potential is Minotaurox, since his whole ability is damage negation. But he's barely a character in the show, and it wouldn't be fair to add him to the game if he hasn't done much in the animation. It's fine though, because I thought of someone better, and you'd actually be surprised who I came up with. Interestingly, Rena Rouge has abilities that make her great for filling the tank role. Her ability is creating illusions to trick or manipulate her opponents. In game, she can use her illusion powers to make herself appear much larger. This will help her in blocking projectiles coming towards her enemy, as well as give her some extra health as long as her Mirage form is active. However, once all the Mirage's health is depleted, the illusion disappears and Rena Rouge is back to her smaller self. This is going to work similar to how Hulk or Diva from Overwatch operates. It's like a smaller, weaker character operating a much larger attacker. But once that form dies, they turn tiny and practically useless. Except Rena would be similar, but not the same, since she wouldn't be exactly useless in her base form. There'd be no transition animation from her larger form to her smaller one. The fight would just continue with her losing the illusion effect. Rena Rouge doesn't really have a weapon. All she carries with her is her flute that she plays to summon her illusions. We can get a little creative here and allow her musical notes to act as projectiles. This can be very satisfying if she plays a little melody as she attacked. Maybe perhaps the Miraculous theme, with each shot being a note from the melody. I love the idea of a musical character being introduced. I'm actually surprised they haven't added anyone musically talented yet. Since Rena Rouge can do so much with her Mirage powers, we have a lot to work with when it comes to her ult. The easiest solution is just making the entire team invisible while the ultimate is active. I think this works, but I also think it's kind of boring. I have a much more ambitious idea in mind. What if when Rena ults, her entire team gets a clone that mirrors their movements? This could cause so much confusion. It could be total chaos. Also, maybe if the clone gets shot, the real player gets a buff of sorts. This would make any players scared to shoot the wrong character, further adding to their confusion. This idea may not fit into the game perfectly, but I think it's still a lot of fun. There is so much you can do with an illusion character. Rena Rouge would be like the opposite of Invisible Woman, since her illusions create beings instead of hiding them. Now that I think about it, there's actually another good candidate for being a tank. Carapace is like the protector of the group, since his powers should generate a huge dome shield. The only problem with adding Carapace is that he's sort of a Captain America clone, and Captain America is already in the game. Still, there is a smart way to add Carapace without stealing the light from Cap. Captain America is a unique fighter. Although he is a tank, his mechanics encourage him to dive the backlines and protect himself over saving his team. Look how tiny his shield is. No one is getting blocked by that, but you did. I'm not saying he makes for a bad tank, I'm saying that this gives room to add one more shield-themed hero with a different set of abilities more focused on protecting the team. Unlike Captain America's shield, which only really shields him, Carapace's will extend way more, blocking a much larger range. Think like Reinhardt's from Overwatch again. Since his light shields are also transparent, it won't block too much of the player's vision. His attacks, though, are gonna have to take some inspiration from Captain America here. Carapace is able to throw his shield to inflict damage, but his won't be able to bounce around like Cap's does. It's only gonna hit one person at a time before returning. Carapace's ult is where things get really interesting. The animation has shown that Carapace's shield can turn ginormous if he needs it to. This will work perfect for defense and controlling the area. When Carapace ults, he will throw down a huge Winston-style shield, which does two things. The shield will obviously protect against any bullets entering, but it will also trap any enemies caught inside. This will work as a perfect counter ult for just about every insta-killers. Think like protection from Scarlet Witch, Jeff, or Iron Man. Since the rest of Carapace's kit is pretty lame, I think a cool ult will balance him out. Let's see, we have 2 tanks, 2 healers, but only 1 DPS. Let's add 1 more to round things off. Vesperia is the last member of the original heroes. Well, it was actually Queen Bee, but since the writers hate Chloe now, she's been replaced with Vesperia. Vesperia doesn't do much, and it's kind of a Ladybug clone if you squint your eyes a little. Instead of a yo-yo, she has a top that she used to zip around. For her movement, I finally get to give her wings. I've been waiting to add wings to Vesperia for so long, and now all my hopes are finally paying off. Vesperia is going to be a new flying character like Iron Man and Storm, but with a lot more movement. She'll fly around normally, but be able to quick dash in the air to dodge incoming attacks. This is a fair balance since she can't fly as fast as Iron Man and won't do as much damage as Storm. Vesperia really has no weapons. Looks like we'll have to get creative again. She can't be a melee character since she's flying, so we'll have to give her some sort of projectile. I like her wasp theme, so let's run with that. Let's say she can shoot stinger bombs, which will be a delayed explosive that do damage and give off a poison effect. Also, I'm gonna say her weird top mobility can actually be an attack if she gets close enough to the ground. She can perform a wasp parade where she dashes through enemies with her top. Now, let's talk about her ultimate. Her ability is Venom. No, not that Venom. When she stings someone, they are rendered completely immobile. This is pretty straightforward, right? When she ults, she's able to stun any nearby enemies. It won't do any damage, but it is still long enough that her teammates can come in and finish the job. I think playing Vesperia would be a lot of fun. A flying Miraculous character fits in nicely with everyone else. I wanted to add some more villains to the roster, but I just couldn't find a clean way to get them to fit. Stormy Weather is the most iconic, but her skills are pretty much the exact same as Storm's, so that just wouldn't work. I was thinking maybe Mr. Pigeon or Mayura, but when your whole moveset is summoning other creatures, it starts to look kinda clunky. The roster we got here is perfect. We got a lot of great heroes with a little evil ratio in the mix, just how Rivals likes it. Usually team-ups tend to combine characters with canon relationships or similar abilities. For example, Rocket and Groot are friends, so Rocket can ride on the back of Groot. Venom can share his symbiote with other Spider-Man characters, and the Human Torch can carry the Thing into battle. Our characters can definitely do something similar. A team up with Ladybug and Cat Noir is a given. I like the idea of Cat Noir launching Ladybug across the map with his pole like we've seen plenty of times in the show. Rena Rouge and Carapace are also a couple we've seen, so giving them a team up is gonna work too. Rena Rouge could grant Carapace the ability to shield himself temporarily like how Magneto does. But this shield can be destroyed the same way Rena Rouge's bigger build is. Hawkmoth and Vesperia don't really have a relationship to any of the characters, so I don't think I'd give them a team up. Maybe Hawkmoth could influence Cat Noir in some way, since that's his son and he's been able to control him before as Cat Blanc. But I can't think of anything really that's interesting outside of stronger attacks. Maybe a self-destruction effect that damages players nearby? I don't know. There will also be plenty of different skins to add for each of these characters. I know how much Rivals likes money. Ladybug has so many different suit designs, you could literally add all of them and people would be happy. I actually made a video dissecting all of her designs. You should go check that out. For Cat Noir, you could include Cat Blanc or Claw Noir. They're both pretty cool. Hawkmoth's outfits could also be the same as Ladybug, since he also changed his look just about every season. Rena Rouge got a neat camo variant for a bit. There has actually not been much change for Carapace and Vesperia. The only difference with Carapace is when he was transformed into Shell Shock, and Vesperia, I would say just make a Queen Bee variant since she has a lot of fans and their abilities are the exact same. You could also just make up a ton of new designs. There you have it. If Miraculous was added to Marvel Rivals or any other fighting game for that matter, this is what it should look like. We picked a perfect roster of fun and popular characters that are sure to get fans excited. We balanced them well so that gameplay can remain consistent even with our cool additions. Just wait, they're gonna add them one day, and you can look back at this video and see where they got their inspiration from. But what do you think? Are these abilities a good match for Rivals? Who would you add to the game instead? Leave a comment down below who you would want to play as. Also, make sure to like and subscribe for more Miraculous and Rivals content.